As you've seen many times on this channel, I point out how often people are lied to by the very people they pay to represent them. The most common question I get is, why do people keep believing that person if they've lied to them in the past? And that's a complex question. Look at how many people will fall for the next Armageddon scam, even though they've literally lived through the last 5 of them. You think, how many times can the same person fall for the same scam? This video breaks down the psychology behind learned helplessness, cognitive dissonance, and trauma bonding, showing how repeated exposure to manipulation creates loyalty. Real-world examples from recent politics help explain why these patterns happen and what it means for human behavior. On January 23, 2016, Donald Trump stated at a rally in Iowa, "I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody, and I wouldn't lose any voters." This was to imply that his followers specifically would not stand up and fight even if they witnessed the president committing a crime. He was suggesting that his followers are docile and cowardly. What Trump was referring to is a behavioral response called learned helplessness. This was explored in psychology experiments where dogs who were repeatedly subject to shocks eventually stopped trying to escape, even when escape was possible. Humans aren't that different. If someone keeps getting lied to or manipulated over and over, eventually they start thinking, well, there's nothing I can do about it. And that can apply to voters too. Like, if a leader repeatedly lies or breaks promises, people may eventually just accept it because they feel they can't fight back. Trump often repeated lies about COVID-19, claiming it was totally under control in early 2020, while the World Health Organization and the CDC were posting completely opposing information. Trump admitted later in an interview, "I wanted to always play it down." Trump also made numerous claims insisting the 2020 election was stolen, despite numerous court cases and audits finding zero evidence. Fact-checkers found that Trump made about 1,950 false or misleading claims in 2017 alone. This created a context where followers may feel, "I can't keep up, so I'll just accept it." You see this also in people who say things like, "Both sides are equally bad." This is learned helplessness. Another factor is low self-worth. In abusive relationships, you sometimes see people accepting mistreatment because they feel like they deserve it. And yeah, this can apply in political contexts too. When a leader publicly insults supporters, which Trump has done, calling some of them lazy or dumb in interviews or on social media, it can create a weird cycle where followers internalize it. They can start to think, maybe I'm not smart enough to judge him, or maybe I'm supposed to just go along. It's not that everyone is beaten down, it's that when you already feel vulnerable, repeated insults or lies can reinforce that sense of feeling unworthy of better treatment. Trump often insults his followers by saying things like, "I don't want to confuse you with the details," or "the experts don't even know and you certainly wouldn't understand," or "if I explain this to you, you wouldn't believe it, you wouldn't understand it." It's a cheap attempt at trying to make your followers feel like they're not very smart. Trump often pairs these phrases with self-aggrandizement, implying that he alone can understand or manage complex issues. This is a form of intellectual elitism in rhetoric, subtly making the audience feel incapable of understanding while boosting his own perceived competence. He'd say things like, and this is all real quotes, "I'm one of the smartest people anywhere in the world. Nobody knows more about this stuff than I do. Only I know how this works." This is a form of gaslighting used to make other people feel inferior. This is not dissimilar to when like a husband tells his wife like, "I'm so much better looking than you," or "I'm so much smarter than you." It's the idea to make that person feel like they aren't worthy of having you. Studies show Trump uses more negative words than any other major politician, often calling his own supporters names like losers, weaklings, or dumb. And negative words don't have to be directed at you to work. You just have to hear them a lot. The more anybody hears negative words, the more subconsciously they start to feel this way. It's just a cheap kind of trick to make people feel like down and depressed. Like the implicit message in the Fifth Avenue comment implies that loyalty is unconditional. This could cause supporters to believe they deserve the leader's treatment, even if it's harsh, because they feel less worthy. He's subconsciously trying to convince them that they aren't the type of people to stand up for what is right. Here's one everybody's probably felt: cognitive dissonance. That's when you believe one thing, but then you encounter facts that contradict it. Your brain hates that tension, so it comes up with a story to make that contradiction feel less painful. As an example, let's say you really like a politician because you think they care about you. Then you hear them say something that clearly contradicts that, like putting votes over actual well being. Trump has been accused of statements like that, prioritizing political gain or bragging about bending the rules. You see this when Trump claimed he paid millions in taxes, but then reporting showed that he paid very little or none at all. Or at the Vegas rally, he literally said, "I don't care about you, I just want your vote." In each case, followers are confronted implicitly or explicitly with a conflict. I believe this person cares and is honest, versus there's evidence that he's not. To ease this dissonance, they may rationalize or ignore it. Followers may think, well, maybe he's just being tough, or the media is twisting it. This is a psychological response that allows you to keep your belief in that person intact without feeling like you've been duped. You essentially just make excuses for the contradicting evidence. Next, we have trauma bonding. This is when someone mixes negativity with occasional positivity, and this can create attachment. Basically, if a leader insults or lies, but also praises or gives rewards occasionally, followers get hooked in this weird emotional loop. Trump has done this a lot. Public insults, strongman rhetoric, but also direct praise for supporters at rallies on social media, calling them smart ones or true patriots. The back and forth can make people invested, even when the leader doesn't always have their best interest at heart. When you hear someone has daddy issues, that's the best explanation of it, right? Like when the father's like always putting their kid down and always saying they're never doing enough, but then every once in a while praising them, it makes the child, like, because it's a figure they look up to, they'll sit around and take that abuse because they long for that occasional praise. Trump does this by using the immigration and America First narrative. Supporters get empowered, like, we're the real people, while also being told they are under threat if they stray. This dual reinforcement ups emotional investment. This creates a bond where followers may accept being mistreated because the emotional payoff, being part of the group, feeling significant, is strong. Last, we have normalization. Over time, constant exposure to negative behavior can make it seem normal. This is called normalization. If you hear a leader insult the media, attack institutions, or exaggerate repeatedly, eventually it doesn't feel shocking anymore. People start treating it as this is just the way things are. When Trump brags about ignoring rules, like with campaign finances or election laws, people aren't shocked when he's caught doing it. And rather than view it as a crime, they view it as just normal behavior. Trump's pattern of exaggeration or insults, repeated daily in rallies and tweets, has created an environment where this seems normal. The sheer volume of false or misleading claims makes dishonesty seem routine. When behavior that would earlier be seen as outrageous becomes normal, followers may stop expecting better and accept less. I'm not trying to imply Trump is the only person who does this. He's just a textbook example, and the person who is currently exploiting those people who have these weaknesses. So if you look at this all together, learned helplessness, low self-worth, cognitive dissonance, trauma bonding, and normalization, you start to see a pattern. It's not magic, it's human psychology. And it doesn't just happen in politics. It happens in relationships, workplaces, families, everywhere someone can hold power over another person's perception of reality. What makes it striking in politics is the scale. Millions of people are experiencing these mechanisms simultaneously, further enhancing the trauma bonding. And you can literally see examples. Lies about election, downplaying a pandemic, braggadocious statements about breaking the rules, insults towards supporters, and still seeing loyalty. That's psychology at work. So yeah, that's why some people seem to accept being lied to or mistreated, even when it's so obvious. It's not necessarily stupidity or blind faith or even pure loyalty. It's a combination of psychological mechanisms that protect our minds from pain, uncertainty, and conflict. And those mechanisms can be exploited for political power. It's all fascinating, frustrating, human behavior that's worth understanding. This is not meant to shame anyone, but to highlight how our brains deal with truth, trust, and influence. Now that you're aware of these effects, think about the ways this shows up around you in politics and media or in your own life. It's a lot to take in, but I promise understanding it helps you see people and leaders much more clearly. Look for these effects. Lots of negative words being used, shaming people and then complimenting them, boosting up how great you are over everybody else, insinuating to people that you can do something that they're incapable of doing. These are all very obvious cues that someone is using these techniques against you. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you enjoy this type of content, please like and subscribe. If you have any videos or topics that you'd like me to take a look at, please leave them in the comments below.